What we have on the schedule for today is not just only your vocabulary evaluation. It says torso, shoulder, and arms, okay? So it was just a coincidence. We see this skeleton like this. How is that possible for that to cause this type of movement on this lever? There's a specific muscle right here. The deltoid would be this then. So what is it that would be causing this type of movement? Okay, if you're curling, like I'm lifting my waist going, yeah, that's curling. Or with a dumbbell, what type of? Yeah, it's your biceps. I'm sorry, did you say that earlier and I just did not hear it? Did you say that earlier and I didn't hear it? Oh, okay. I wasn't ignoring. I just seriously just didn't hear it. Because I thought you said deltoid. Okay. So you got to keep in mind, do muscles push or pull? They do. So when we talk about the term of a push-up, okay, there has to be a counter action to this movement, okay? It just looks better when you have the hand on here. So this is flexion by the bicep. So then the action is flexion. The counter action would be extension. So there's a muscle on the backside then that counteracts that. So what would balance out this bicep flexion? It starts with the T. Yeah, it's actually your triceps, okay? So one of the things that I never really agreed with, but I think maybe there's some validity to it, but one of the things that notice when you are doing push-ups, okay, there is a muscle that will help your push-ups on doing so. Just like if this masseter muscle, which I've got your quizzes corrected, by the way. They were put in the grade book last night. I'll try to remember to hand them back to you. But when this masseter is flexing, that is the prime mover. It's doing the majority of the movement. There is a muscle up here that supplements that. Do we remember what it is? Yes, because when you are chewing or when you feel your jaw clenching, you can feel your temporalis coming on out, okay, or flexing like this, okay? So then, for the same reason, okay, when you're doing a push-up, the prime mover, that probably might be one of your vocab terms, the one that does the majority of moving at the joint, okay? This is the majority mover, but this will supplement it. If your triceps are your prime mover going down, when that happens, there's also another muscle that will pull your shoulders closer together. And it's in your chest area, your ventral area. And you've heard of it, someone's just not brave enough to say what it is. Or you need the first letter. P. Mm-hmm. And if I just tell you, you can go, I knew that. Everyone's looking side to side, and that is your pectoralis muscle. Okay? So now how many of you are going, I knew that, I just didn't want to say anything. Okay? But even though it's not the prime mover, it will supplement your moving, pulling your shoulders closer together. Okay? So then, what muscle originates up here on the spine of your scapula, your clavicle, and then this tuberosity? That is your deltoid. I didn't want to say deltoid tuberosity because that would just give it away then. But yeah, your deltoid tuberosity does this movement, okay? Then just a couple more, and then that will be it for today. I think just a couple more. Do we remember this muscle. It's one that causes that action. We said it's your muscle of frustration. That is your splenius capitis, okay? Then there's also, we call the non-verbal response muscle. Exactly what you just did. When you shrug your shoulders, okay? And it's one of the things we say, don't fall into this. Starts with a T. Yeah, it's your trapezius. You're supposed to say don't fall into the trap, but yeah, you're a couple steps ahead of us. The trapezius, yeah. But your trapezial muscle is triangular in nature, okay? Comes down here, goes down there, and then back up the spine. But what it does is it inserts here on this structure. Is this the coracoid process or the acromion process? Are you sure? Yeah, this is your acromion process. The coracoid is actually down here. Okay? Then probably one of the largest muscles in the body. Okay? And that, I think it runs the entire length, but it's a little deeper up here. It's beneath the trapezius, goes all the way down the spine, and then goes all the way up here and inserts in your shoulder. And it does this type of movement. It will pull your shoulder back. And sometimes what happens is if we had a rowing machine, okay, up in the weight room, if you're doing one of these types of movements where you're doing this, notice it's pulling your shoulder back, okay? But it is a back muscle that does that. And people will make reference to this, oh, it's this type of day to work on this type of muscle. It's something dorsi. Yeah, your latissimus dorsi. And it might be latus, but I think it's latissimus. That's why they say, oh, it's going to be a lats day. So they're working on this muscle group right here. Okay, so what action does the triceps do? Flexion or extension of the elbow? So it's extending your elbow. Then the opposite to that would be like we do biceps. Yeah. You don't have to hit yourself in the head if you don't want. That's just for fun. Yeah. Okay. And then, okay, what muscle is the prime mover here? We're throwing vocab terms in and review muscles in at the same time. The prime mover that does the closing of the jaw. The masseter. So then a synergist, one that would aid the clenching of the jaw. Temporalis, that's right. Then, okay, what is it that raises your arm laterally? The deltoid does that. Okay, so then what aids this prime mover? So this prime mover, it does the majority of the contraction extending your arm. So it's this backside muscle. And we've said it already. The triceps. So then what is the synergist that will pull your shoulders closer together? One that you came up with. Nope, that will go backwards. They'll spread them further apart. You're going to say, oh, I knew that. Yeah. Nope, it goes like that. It's this muscle right here on either side. Pectoralis major. And yes, we do have a pectoralis minor, but we're not going to get into that. And then finally, what raises the shoulders? Okay, does that type of movement. It's right here. Trapezius. And then what pulls your shoulders backwards and down? Latissimus dorsi. Next, I didn't want to get into these types of muscles right here that will also aid in pulling your shoulder back, and those are called rhomboidus muscles, but we'll get into that next week. Okay, so that's all I have. We'll catch up to you next time. We'll get this vocabulary evaluation out of the way, and then next Tuesday, we'll probably have your next diagram quiz, which is, okay, as you would guess, it's going to be the ventral chest, okay? And then it'll also be the dorsal torso, okay? Which would mean those muscles we just went over, your trapezius, your latissimus dorsi, your arm muscles, okay? And then we'll also get down into the hand as well. Because what's odd about that is, gosh, there are a lot of muscles in your fingers that do this. Is that a fact? No, that is fiction. You have no muscles down here. Okay? Well, if these are moving, how's that even possible then? And to answer that, you would have to do something like this, and you can feel that movement. It's connective tissue and tendons that go from about right here all the way down through your hand, okay, and down into these joints. This is connective tissue that's actually moving, but the actual muscles are all the way up here. There's one called your brachialis muscle, but we'll get into that. That's down here as well. But we'll get into the forearms and the upper shoulders next week. Okay, we'll catch up to you next time.